Well, hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to Grizzly Bear Sim's YouTube channel, and welcome back to Calmsden Farm, episode number 13. And thank you all so much for joining. I hope you are having a wonderful day. I hope that you have had a wonderful, wonderful weekend. And you're watching this episode on Monday. And Monday, of course, is Valentine's Day. So if well, if you're watching this video early enough on Valentine's Day and you have not gotten your favorite, your wife, your girlfriend, your husband, your boyfriend, significant other in some way, shape, form, or fashion, something, some flowers, some chocolates, maybe organized a nice dinner or something like that, then it's not too late. You can, or even a card, it's not too late. You can certainly take advantage of that. And I would encourage for all of you guys out there, because I think the majority of viewers, my friends who watch my channel, are guys. And it might, especially if you spend a lot of time playing games and such, it might not be a bad idea to woo your sweetheart on this day. And I know that it's kind of commercialized and everything, and my wife and I certainly don't take the holiday as serious as perhaps many other people might do, especially if you're younger and everything. But we still celebrate it, and we still do something, typically something fun before Valentine's Day. And I think I've told this story before, but I will tell it again. Like my dad says, I know I've told you this before, but you need to hear it again, son. Um, and that's just kind of how my wife and I do things. So that story. Oh, by the way, so this is episode number 13, and it is early Saturday morning. The let's see, the 12th of February, and oh my gosh, it is cold. It is so cold. It has been cold, and it snowed yesterday. It started snowing yesterday, and so yeah, it's cold, and it kind of goes along with what I said a few episodes ago about the fact that I could not remember. I could not remember when we had got snow on top of snow on top of snow, and the distance between the last snowstorm and this snowstorm was about a week, I guess. But there was still enough snow on the ground in certain areas. Certainly, nothing. The snow had melted in areas that had received a lot of bright sun. And I guess we did have a couple of days where the temperature was in the 50s. And so, of course, snow is gonna melt pretty rapidly at that particular rate. Um, but we still had snow in certain areas. Some roofs, like in the shaded areas of a roof line, still had snow, and so that's kind of been the trend over the last, really over the last few weeks, over the last few snowstorms. And we've averaged a snow event. Don't know if we would really call it a storm. My wife and I had a discussion about that. What really qualifies as a snowstorm? But this one that we got yesterday kind of started as rain, because the temperature was above the freezing point at the initial start of it. But then there was a cold front that was coming through at the same time, and we got about 6 inches. They were forecasting anywhere from 1 to 3. So the weather forecasters got that wrong, and typically that is kind of the running joke around here, around my neck of the woods anyway, is that with these storms that are only likely to produce, anything less than say 6 inches of snow, the forecasters kind of get it wrong most of the time. If they're calling for it to be 6 inches, we'll get one. If they're calling for 1 to 3, we may get 5 or 6. They do typically, fortunately, they do get the big ones generally right. If they start talking about conditions are setting up for blizzard-like conditions, where we might get a dumper of anywhere from 18 inches to maybe as much as 2 or 3 feet. They're pretty much spot on with that, and of course that sends panic through the folks here, they'll make a run on the grocery store, and you won't find milk, eggs, bread, stuff like that will be gone from the shelves fairly quick order. Hope everyone is having a wonderful day, and I certainly am. And as I was talking about with Monday, with Valentine's Day coming up on Monday, and you're going to be watching this episode certainly on Monday, um, I wanted to just kind of share with you what my wife and I do for Valentine's Day, and it's a tradition. And you might say, well, gosh, Jerry, you were talking about buying a card, buying flowers, doing all this stuff that's important for your significant other. And Jerry, you and your wife go to McDonald's for Valentine's dinner. And actually, we don't go to McDonald's for Valentine's dinner. I will go through the drive-through, and I will pick up something from McDonald's. And exactly why do I order from McDonald's? And before I finish that story off, I just wanted to let you see here, Sid is working in our grass meadow here. He is mowing and automatically windrowing that up for silage purposes. We are going to get the BGA going with silage bells. Mr. Thornton called me yesterday and said that the BGA is looking to get started up again. They had been shut down for a period of time, and the BGA is beneficial to the area around here, as it certainly contributes a lot of power to this area through the methane that it produces. And so we are going to certainly, I think we're not going to make it around, are we? Are we going to make it? We might make it. We might make it. Come on. I don't think we're going to make it. No, we're not going to make it. All right, so let's see. We're going to pull forward here. Oops, I forgot to turn crop destruction back on. My apologies, folks. Is Sid? Smithy's not even here to empty us. So hold just 1 second. Okay, we are back. Through the magic of editing, I managed to fix the issue with Smithy's tractor, and so we're back cooking with gas here. So I think I was talking to you about McDonald's and Valentine's Day. So it kind of goes back to about maybe 15 years ago, 12 to 15 years ago. I had organized a dinner, reservations at a restaurant, and everything for my wife and I to go for Valentine's Day dinner. And this was kind of back in the time where we sort of celebrated Valentine's Day a little bit more authentically anyways. I would typically either order her flowers, or I would bring flowers to her office. And this was when she was still working in the office, physically in the office. And so I would bring her flowers, or I would leave her a card when I would get up, before I would get up to go to work and everything. And we would typically always go out for Valentine's Day dinner, and it was be in a different kind of restaurant, or a nice kind of restaurant. Well, a new Italian restaurant had opened around the same time frame, and I had reservations, and it just so happened that for that particular Valentine's Day, the weather was turning, and it was starting to snow. And our reservations were for like 7 o'clock. And we had got off work, come home, and got ready to go out for the evening. And I believe it was during Valentine's Day that particular year was during the work week. And so we set off with plenty of time, normally, even factoring in a little bit of extra time for the weather. And there was an accident. Accident on the highway, and we got stuck in that traffic, and we just sat there, and I was between exits and couldn't really do anything. Couldn't do anything about that situation. There was no getting off the freeway, and we were just kind of stuck for a while. Well, our time for our reservation started getting closer and closer, and I knew that we weren't going to make it. Well, at the same time, she and I were both starving because we had had lunch that day. I don't think together, but we had had lunch that day, and that was all that we had had to eat. And 7 o'clock was approaching, and we were still several miles away from the restaurant. Well, the highway, we were able to inch further and further closer, but we were still too far away to make our reservation time. And so we managed to get off the highway, and we managed to, at the exit that we pulled off, we were able to take a couple of back streets around to kind of get back to our part of town where we lived. And there just happened to be a McDonald's. And I asked my wife, I said, well, do you want to go someplace else? And we both realized that there was going to be, even if we went to someplace like Red Lobster or Olive Garden or Macaroni Grill, something like that, which was not what we had initially intended. But if we went to someplace like that, we knew that it would be swamped, and we knew that the chances of us getting a table quickly anyways was going to be almost slim to none chance of being able to do that. So she's like, under the circumstances, let's just go through the McDonald's drive-through, and we will try this again in a couple of days. Well, that particular year, we learned our lesson. A couple of things. We made the decision that never would we celebrate Valentine's Day on Valentine's Day proper again, as far as going out to a restaurant, something like that, just because it's just too crazy. There's just too many people. Even if the weather is fantastic and there's no snow or anything like that, just the restaurants are crowded. Of course, before COVID times, the restaurants were crowded, and it was just crazy. It would just be a crazy situation to try to do that. So before COVID times, what we would always do is we would either a few days prior or a few days after, kind of however Valentine's Day fell in the week. For example, if it fell on in the middle of the work week, like on a Tuesday or Wednesday or even Monday, as it is doing this year, we would for Valentine's Day, we would typically just go out either the weekend before, or we would wait and go out the weekend after, and we would do a nice meal, either a nice Italian place or a nice seafood place, something like that, steak place, something like that, and that's what we would do. But we always, and from that particular year forward, we always had McDonald's on Valentine's Day, and it's become a joke now more than it has been anything else, and it's just one of those. It's kind of like New Year's Eve. Our New Year's Eve tradition with having Indian curry started because she and I were both sick. One particular year, we had all the fixings to do a nice dinner at home and everything, but neither one of us felt like standing in the kitchen cooking for a few hours, and we just decided that, well, we would order curry. So it's funny how the traditions start, and we keep it alive because it is something that that we experienced at a particular point in time, and we laugh about it. And it's probably the only time, unless we're traveling like a road trip or something, where we just don't have time for anything other than something quick, we will whip through the McDonald's drive-through. But it's probably the only time of the year that we actually go to McDonald's, or I go to McDonald's through the drive-through, get whatever it is that we're going to have, and I bring it home, and we eat it at home. And again, like I said, we laugh about it, and we enjoy our evening together. We'll typically watch a movie or something and just relax at home, because everyone else, in the madness that is Valentine's Day, that is a holiday that has been commercialized more than a lot of us would care for it to be. That is just the way things are. All right, so we have fixed. I'll come back and fix that later. We'll go ahead and start the process of unloading now. And I've just found that it's much easier just to stop and let him come up to us, and he will hopefully unload us. Hopefully he understands what we want him to do. Come on, Smithy. There he goes. Drive control is wonderful, and I absolutely love it, as I have said in previous videos, and I think I even talked about it in episode number 12 about how I've really gotten used to drive control. Um, and if you remember, because I've said this before, FarmSim 22 is the first time that I've utilized drive control in any capacity at all. And normally I would do all this with horseplay, but because the functions of having a tractor tipper controlled by horseplay was not available initially. Don't think it still is. I haven't, to be honest, I haven't really looked. I have kept horseplay updated as best as possible, but I haven't really looked to see what new features have been added. I do know that the recent update is multiplayer compatible with a few little quirks, I believe. But horseplay has made a very much progress in a short period of time. We must all admit, considering that these are just people that the horseplay team is just individuals like you and I that is devoting our time for the love of the game. They're not making anything. It's not a product they're selling. And so the progress that they have made rather quickly, in my opinion, has been extraordinary. Has been absolutely extraordinary. And so, if you have not got horseplay yet on your FarmSim 22, it is still in development, and you can get it from the horseplay GitHub page. If you go to grizzlybearsims.com, that's my website. Click on information and go to my add-ons spreadsheet, I believe is what the link is called there, and then look at the FS22 tab, and then look under, I think it's under scripts or something like that. You'll see a link to that GitHub page, and you can download horseplay for yourself, and it works rather well. Of course, we're not using horseplay here on this field number 9, but I did have Sid mowing on field number 10 with horseplay, and it hopefully all worked out quite well. All right, well, I really don't know how long this video is, because I did have a gap of several minutes as I was working to sort out what was going on with Smithy. And Smithy is, I'll tell you what, let's do some up and downs here. Just spin this guy around. Got 2 minutes here. So we're still in the borrowed case combine. I'm still not really fully made a decision as to whether or not we're going to keep this long term. I do like the fact that with a little bit bigger combine, we can get through these fields a little bit quicker. It's not necessarily, for me, it's not, it's not how quick I can do things necessarily. These fields, believe it or not, these fields are quite large. These fields are typically, and I know I mentioned this in episode 12, the field sizes are typically things that you don't see in the popular British style farming maps. We just don't typically see field sizes quite this large. And so, when I first started playing Calmsden Farm a few weeks ago, when it first came out, yes, I realized that the fields were fairly large and hadn't really put a lot of thought process behind it. Of course, my dear friend Fury Machine Gaming, he went ultra small, and of course he has corrected that. I watched his first reset video, episode number 1, after he took the update and did a complete map reset and everything for Calmsden Farm, and he himself has changed his plans. He's not going to be doing the ultra small equipment. He's going to be using larger equipment, and he's going to do some design things. I think he's going to build some barns or some sheds or someplace in one of the other fields and sort of take advantage of that. And so just good stuff, I'm sure, that we will see come from him in due time. But you really don't understand, I suppose, the impact of how big things are. And because this is the only map that I'm playing, That's kind of the other thing that I have to kind of take into consideration, is that because this is the only map that I'm playing, if I'm doing something with smaller equipment, so if I'm going to use the Kloss combine that comes with the map, and certainly the one that I use for the first harvests of the barley and the wheat fields, and if I keep my videos to the 25 to 30 minutes like I ultimately try to do, that's going to put a lot of additional time kind of doing the same thing for me for maybe another hour, hour and a half, harvesting some of those fields before I can get that particular job done, and then sort of move forward a little bit. So going with some larger equipment, and of course this ultimately is kind of the largest, or at least it's in the series of larger combines that we have access to. I'm not going to go with the, the big the big the big cedars and stuff like that. Probably, if I do change the cedar out, it will probably be the Amazon cedar that I was using on Elm Creek. Um, Something like that. Won't go with the big wide thing that it's like, I don't know, 20 meters or something like that. Wide or something. Won't go quite that big. That's a bit overkill. But probably we'll definitely need to have a little bit bigger cedar. And again, it just kind of goes along to kind of doing the tasks a little bit quicker, not only for you, so that I can kind of do a job and you see me either start it or finish it, or whatever the case might be, and then we're moving on to something different. And it also gives me an opportunity, and this is important as well. It gives me an opportunity. Let's see if he's over there. Yep, he is. It gives me the opportunity to do some stuff, to continue to play the game, which I enjoy doing. I've briefly talked about this, how that being the content creator does kind of change the way that we play the game in a certain way. And sometimes, if you're just doing content, especially if you're only playing one map, and I don't, at this particular point in time, I don't have I don't have a personal save that I'm playing a Farm Sim 22 that I'm not recording content on. I've not the only thing I'm doing Farm Sim 22 related is Calmsden Farm at this time, just simply because I've got so many other things to do, and I've still have an interest in doing ATS and ETS2 and flight sim from time to time, and so it just the amount of available time that I have, I sort of wrap around my ability to play Farm Sim 22 here on Calmsden Farm, record some videos of the gameplay, and then do things off camera. And I even did it last week. I did a few contracts. I did one contract that I recorded an episode about, but then I did two other contracts after the fact, just to kind of enjoy playing Farm Sim without having to necessarily worry about what what was happening on the farm, so that I didn't either get too far ahead, and there's this big gap as far as, well, Jerry, how did we go from November to February in the course of 3 days or something like that. So doing the contracts kind of allowed me to continue to enjoy the game, enjoy doing things on the farm, and not getting things too far ahead of myself, and leaving gaps of time for you all to kind of sit around and scratch your heads and go, okay, well, how did we get to this point? Because the last thing he was doing was harvesting. How do we get so quickly around to planting? So that is something there. So with the call that I got from Mr. Thornton yesterday about the VGA, we are going to, off camera, I am going to bale and wrap the grass over in field 10 and get that ready to go down to the VGA, where it will just sit there and ferment, and then we'll move that into the digester when it is ready to go. Now you might be wondering, why why I'm doing silage that way for the BGA instead of doing it a more traditional way of maybe either doing corn chaff and putting it in a bunker and letting it ferment. Well, that's what my initial plan was. When I mentioned in the previous video about firing up the BGA, obviously I've been thinking about that for quite some time. But yesterday, I was going to place, because there is no silage bunker at the BGA on Calmsden Farm. The BGA is there, but there's no bunker. And so I was going to place one of the in-game bunkers at the BGA, and you can do it, but unfortunately, because of the way that the bunkers will only allow them to be set at 45-degree angles, it kind of makes it awkward, and it looks awkward because the way that it would sit in there would be a little bit crooked, and my OCD would basically be bothering me about that, and it didn't kind of look like it would be something that would be easy to then scoop out and move to the digester the way that it snaps in there. And so I just decided that, well, what we'll do is, instead of playing as if we own the BGA and manage the BGA and everything, that we're just going to be contributors to the BGA. The BGA is going to pay us for our efforts of producing silage. We will sell our manure as well, because we're not going to really be able to make enough manure to put on the fields, I don't think, to spread it. We will obviously be able to do that with slurry, but we won't be able to do it with manure. And so the idea is that we will produce silage bales. We will sell those silage bales a few times a year to the BGA. That will help contribute to what the BGA is doing for the community around here by providing power to the community, and we will obviously get a windfall from that, and we will also get their liquid digestate that we will be able to use on our fields as well. So kind of be a little bit of a win-win, and we don't have to do so much effort in moving silage from the bunkers into the digester. We can just do that with bells, and I can do that off camera, and then we'll benefit from having the digestate, we'll benefit from having the income, and we'll benefit from knowing that it's a good deed that we're doing for the community. Other farmers are contributing as well to the BGA, but it's just been an effort to try to get it running again, and so they are getting set back up and should be operational as soon as we can get some silage down there. So that is the plan for the next little bit of time that I spend playing Farm Sim 22 is going to be in getting some silage down there. All right, well, ladies and gentlemen, I am the countdown clock here, which I did not pause, is telling me that I am now over 30 minutes. The video, I don't think, will be 30 minutes because I did have some time where I was messing about trying to get Smithy to drive the JCB, and I had it set right, but for some reason or another it just didn't want to work until I did it the last time, and then all of a sudden he started driving correctly. So oh well, that's okay. We know that it's still a work in progress. Both Drive Control is, as well as many of the other mods that we have access to. They're still work in progress. So anyway, I will go ahead and wrap things up, and the video will be however long the video is, and I hope that you all have a wonderful week ahead. I don't know how many videos I'll get out this week, but be whatever I manage to do will be whatever you can manage to watch, and we'll just be happy about that, because that will fit my schedule and your schedule as well. And I appreciate everyone for tuning in to the Grizzly Bear Sims YouTube channel and being my friend here. If you are new to the channel and you have not subscribed, please do become a friend. become a family member here and enjoy your time with me here on Calmsden Farm at this particular point in time, and of course future maps as we move along throughout our time here with Farm Sim 22. All right, well, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you all have a great week, and I will see you all right back here on Calmsden Farm. Grizzly Bear Sim saying goodbye, and I will speak to you all very soon. Bye for now.